Johnny Mac and Jody Mac. The Mac and Mac guys here on Birch 365. Yes, it's a day in which the Eagle Beat guys, that would include both Kratz and McMullen and a whole bunch of others, get to go down and watch the Eagles actually work out today, get some football in. And not heavy hitting, everybody in shorts and the like, but at least they will have team participation out there on the field, and that's something to look forward to. I apologize, Johnny Mac. I meant to bring this up when Ed Kratz was here. Down in Washington, their lead receiver said that Sam Howell has taken control of the Washington football team. That he is
Scary Terry. Yeah.
The lead dog, according to McLaurin. I still don't like Sam Howell. We'll see how he plays this year. But Ed Kratz.
Well, you know what? I will say, I'm with you. I'm not tremendously high on Sam Howell, but I will say he's got a chance to be better than Taylor Heineke. I mean, and if he is, all of a sudden that Washington team, hey, they beat the Eagles with Taylor Heineke. They were the only team that beat the Eagles.
Right. I think you're dismissing Taylor Heineke too.
Well, I am. I mean, he's limited. He's very limited. As our buddy Grant Paulson would say, he's got a horseshoe up to you-know-what at times. I always go back to that play. He just threw it up for grabs, and the official ran into the defensive back, and he got a touchdown out of it. I mean, Taylor's not a starting NFL quarterback. He's a good backup, and I think he's the backup in Atlanta now, maybe.
Yeah, he moved got a pretty good payday, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
I
think he's
more
a good
than
backup.
Most backup quarterbacks.
Yeah, I think he's a good backup, but I don't want him as a starter. There's some reason to be excited, a little bit more excited than normal with Washington, and most of it has to do with Daniel Snyder. But Sam's got to be better than Taylor Heineke.
All right, here's my bold prediction. You got Kenny Gainwell as the Eagles RB1. Here's mine. 9 months from now, which brings us into like March, somewhere thereabouts. The Washington football team, call them what you want, Commanders, if they change the name, as per Josh Harris, who knows, will be in the major conversation of looking to trade up into the top 2 of the NFL draft, because they need their franchise quarterback going forward. It's not going to be Sam Howell.
I should have further stated, I don't believe that either Taylor Heineke or Sam Howell is the long-term answer. I just think Sam Howell's got a chance to be better than Taylor Heineke, is how I would describe it.
All right. Off the top of my head, I'm trying to remember. Skins last year, 7-11 or 8-9. And I know Carson Wentz started games.
They should have beat the Giants, I know, in that game. Where the Giants clinched the playoffs, they kind of got screwed in that game. So they were competitive until the end. But I think they had 7, but I'd have to look it up.
Last year, the Washington Commanders. Oh, because they had the tie, 8-1. They actually were a true 500 team. We thought we did away with that when we went to 17 games. You can't go 500 anymore. The Commanders proved us wrong by going 8-1. I will predict they are not as good this year under Sam Howell as they were last year under the Taylor Heineke Carson Wentz combination. They will not win. I guess, well, if they win 8 games, that means they have 9 losses, which would be worse than 8-1. So to actually beat what they did last year, they're going to need to go 9-8. I'm taking the under, led by their former North Carolina quarterback.
That's fine. I mean, I think it's a very good division. We're back in the NFC East after a number of years where it was a bad division. I think they have 2 of the top 3 teams in the NFC. And the Commanders, as I said, finished, well, they were 8-1. The Giants were 9-7-1. And they got screwed in that game. So, that's how close it was. You know me, I'm not as high on the New York Giants as other people. I think they did a lot of that with mirrors. I will say this about Washington. From 1 through 53, I think they're more talented than the New York Giants. That's where I am with them.
Well, but what's the 1 through 53? What is that not included? That's so you think they have a more talented roster than the Giants?
Yes, yes.
So you're suggesting the Giants are better because of their coach?
I'm suggesting the Giants overachieved last year, and yeah, part of that is their coach. Part of that is we see this all the time. Is guys have. It's one of my concerns with the Eagles. So many guys had career years, but they're a really good team.
So
I
if
think
they
you have
if they upgraded at quarterback, and you think that Sam Howell's got a chance to be better than Taylor Heineke, do they have a chance to be better than 8-1?
Yeah, they got a chance to be better than the New York Giants. Is what I'm saying. They have a chance to be.
So you think the Giants are coming back from 9-7-1?
Yes, I think the Giants are coming back, and they were really close last year, as I said. I mean, 9-7-1, 8-1, whatever the records were, 9 wins, 8 wins. I mean, they were really close last year. Yeah, I think they have more talent than the New York Giants. Now, the Eagles are clearly number 1. The Cowboys are clearly number 2. But if they're in that 9-win, 8-win, even 8 wins, you're in it till the very end. You're talking about that final wild card spot. They could have the Giants wild card spot this year. And then I think the Giants got further, people got further overhyped because they won the playoff game, but then they came here and got absolutely dismantled because they didn't belong in that position. Let's be honest. They got this, what was the score? 38-7. They got dismantled in that game. So I think Washington has a chance to be better than the New York Giants in the NFC East, which isn't even a bold prediction. I think you could argue they were better than them last year.
Here's how it becomes bold by saying, I think the Commanders will finish ahead of the Giants. Then it's a bold prediction. If you say they might be better, you're right. That's not bold because you're hedging. So do you want to go bold or no?
Yeah, I think they're better. I think they were better last year. I think they're better. They're better than the New York Giants. I think the Giants are still – I think the Giants surprised themselves with the season they had last year. I think the Giants are taking a step back, and I still like the coach and I like the GM, and I think they're finally making good decisions, and I think ultimately they're headed in the right direction, but they still have some significant talent issues. I think Washington has more talent than the New York Giants, and they have to deal with a lot of crap off the field, and hopefully that stuff is cleaned up, or at least a little bit. I mean, it's going to take years.
Dan Snyder's still the owner of the football team.
It's going to take years for them to get a new stadium and not have to deal with the crappy facilities and all that kind of stuff. But so they still have a lot of off the field stuff they have to deal with. But yeah, I don't even think that's a bold statement. They have more talent than the New York Giants.
Yeah, I would disagree. I think Giants had a good draft. I think, first of all, it was proven on the field last year. The Giants beat them. I'm one who, when it's over and done with, cut and dry, you can look at the standings and go, oh, that was a better team. You can argue one team is more talented than the other, but results dictate who the better team is, and the Giants had the better results. So
yeah, you're a hard line with that, Jody. But I mean, during the season, you'll admit, like everybody else, there's upsets all the time. Because you beat a team by one game, it might be injuries, it might be a bad call, it might be this, it might be that. That is not definitive slam. Like if you win 14 games like the Eagles and you're comparing them to a 8-win team, the Eagles are significantly better. If you're comparing a 9-win team to an 8-win team, I mean, I got to look at every little dot point along the way. And that is not. Oh, they won 9, they won 8. They're better. Not to me, anyway.
Yeah, it is to me, because that's the way the NFL works. The season ends, you look at the standings, that's it. If there were reasons for it, well, guess what? You get to prove that next year. But you close the book on one season, you move on to the next.
Yeah,
Next
but
year,
now we're projecting. So that comes into it. Now we're projecting. That's got to come into it. You can't just say, oh, they won one more game, so they're going to continue to be one game better.
Right. No, you're right. If we're talking about next year, then it's all projection. Because, right, until they get out there on the field. But
well, I'm saying, then I ask you don't think Washington has more talent? Not forget about quarterback. All right, you don't like the quarterback. Everywhere else, you don't think Washington has more talent than the New York Giants?
When you include the coaches, yes, I think the Giants are a better football team than the Commanders. When you include coaching, I think the talent on the roster is close. I don't love the Giants quarterback, but I think he's better than a reach of a late round draft pick to try and throw in there. I think the Giants team is a better team. They were last year. And on paper right now, looking forward, who do I think is going to have a better season this year? Yeah, I think the Giants are better than the Commanders. Because and I like Ron Rivera. He's a good dude, and I want to root for him. He hasn't had a ton of success there. He hasn't been the best at picking out top flight coordinators, specifically on the offensive side, to pick up the slack for him, because he's a defensive guy. Yeah, I think the Giants are a better team than the Commanders, projecting forward for this season as of right now.
Well, it's close, so I'm not gonna. But there's certain positions like wide receiver, for instance. I mean, it's not close. We just brought up Scary Terry. They also have John Dotson, who's really turning into a good player. Curtis Samuel's tremendous slot receiver when he's out there, when he's healthy. We all know how bad the Giants have been at receiver. Isaiah Hodgins was their best receiver down the stretch last season. We've been talking about the Washington defense for years and years and years. I mean, they're just good up front with Allen and Payne and Sweat and Chase Young. And even though Chase Young's been a disappointment, I mean, when he's your fourth best defensive lineman, that's pretty stinking good. One of the things with Washington has been so helpful to the Eagles is Daniel Snyder and all the nonsense that they're constantly dealing with, because it has been a talented group at times, especially defensively. And, those guys are still there, and Allen's still Allen, and Payne is still Payne, and Sweat is still Sweat. I didn't like the Forbes pick. I'm with you. I think the Giants had a better draft, but yeah, I think they have more talent than the Giants. I do.
Until Dan Snyder is no longer the owner of the Commanders, he's still the owner of the Commanders. Until it actually goes through and happens and there is a transition, it can be the same mess that it's been the last umpteen years that he's been the owner of that team.
Yeah, they still got to play in FedEx Field, and they don't have home games. When they do have home games, they have crappy facility. I mean, when the Eagles go down there, it's 60% Eagles fans. But I do think, as it becomes clear, Daniel Snyder's already checked out. So, I mean, he's not going to be running the team this year. When it goes through, he's in his yacht in the south of France all the time now. He's never even around. So that will help. And when the sale does go through, they'll start going in a more positive direction. I'm not in love with Josh Harris, from his time here in Philadelphia with the Sixers, but he's better. He's a hell of a lot better than Daniel Snyder. I think there's going to be a more positive vibe, but you're right. It all depends on Sam Howell. If Sam Howell craps the bed, they're in deep trouble. But they won.
And oh, by the way, you talk about backup quarterbacks. Jacoby Brissett is that guy. He's a backup quarterback. He started for several teams, started last year because Deshaun Watson wasn't going to play in Cleveland for X amount of games. If he's got to start, that's an issue. I like him coming off the bench. Guy gets hurt in the middle of the game, take over for a half, maybe another week thereafter. If you got to do more than that, you start to see Jacoby Brissett go this way. That's why I don't really like the Commanders coming into the season. If Sam Howell isn't good enough, which I don't think he is, you're going to turn to Jacoby Brissett, who, in my opinion, is not good enough. So you don't even have that potential upside that you did last year when Taylor Heineke came off the bench. I think
Taylor you think more of Taylor Heineke. I think Jacoby Brissett's better than Taylor Heineke.
Really?
Yeah. You're a bigger Taylor Heineke fan than I am.
Okay. Either Sam Howell or Jacoby Brissett have a quarterback ranking over 90 this year?
Well, yeah, you know me. I'm not a passer rating fan. I think it's very, very limited. Like you talk about, I bring up that play because it was the craziest play maybe of the year when he threw a punt down the field and the official, the back judge, ran into the defensive back. It was sit there like a punt returner, ready to haul in the interception. It was Cam Bynum for Minnesota. And we talked about it with Grant, and that's when he brought up the horseshoe and the keister. Hey, you guess what? That helps the passer rating. If the official doesn't run into nobody cares. Nobody's sitting there like Pro Football Focus and saying, hey, you know what? This is a negatively graded play. No, it was a 60-yard touchdown for Taylor Heineke. That's a horseshoe in the keister.
All right. That's the Commander equivalent play of the long pressure in the championship game versus the Vikings.
It is what it is. I'm just trying to point out.
It is what it is. And what it is one play.
I'm talking about the limitations. All passer rating is you got a lot of touchdowns and you don't have a lot of interceptions. It is the worst freaking stat in the history of mankind. It's worthless.
Please give me the better stat to judge the efficiency of the quarterback in the NFL.
There's tons of them. The Football Outsiders Football Outsiders has gone the way of what.
Please give me Football Outsiders no longer existent stat.
Pro Football Focus quarterback rankings. Their rankings are 100 million times better. There's all kinds. Sports Info Solutions, our buddy Matt Manicherian. There's tons of advanced stats that are better than passer rating. Basically, any stat any smart guy has come up with over the past 15 years, one of these Harvard guys, one of these Andrew Berry guys, is better than passer rating. Passer rating is hooey. I'll say it. Hooey. Who cares? Who cares? You have a lot of, that's all it is, Jody. You don't throw, and in fact, you don't even have to throw touchdown. Just don't throw interceptions, and you got a great passer rating. That's it. That's it.
Fair enough. You dismiss it. I still think it's a legitimate way to rank players. It's imperfect. They're all imperfect. There is no perfect stat, but I still think that one is effective enough to use to judge how quarterbacks play. He's John McMullen. I'm Jody McDonald. Coming back, we've got Paul Domwich of Pro Football Focus. Pro Football Focus. I got Pro Football Focus on the mind. From the 33rd team, joining us next here on Birds 365.
Do you stream on a road